Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adil. I'm the MPP for Don Valley East, and I'm the Ontario Liberal critic for colleges and universities. What we have heard and witnessed today is simply too little too late. It's a little bit like if I was working in the emergency department and I had a patient dying from dehydration and I handed them a Gatorade. It doesn't do the trick. It's also not lost upon me that this is a strategically timed announcement intended to distract from Minister Dunlops and this government's whopping donation scandal from the private career college sector. Let's not forget that under this government, Ontario has become dead last on funding post-secondary education, is dead last on supporting operating budgets at universities, is dead last on contributing provincial GDP to the post-secondary education sector. And this falls squarely upon Doug Ford, Minister Dunlop, and this government. They took power, they immediately underfunded public institutions such as universities. They limited domestic students' access to post-secondary education. They slashed OSAP. And of course, they allowed subpar private diploma mills to take hold in our province. $1.3 billion is not enough. Let's look at this from a couple different vantage points. Today, York University faculty have gone on strike. 3,000 people are on strike. This is a university that's running a $40 million deficit and has a $600 million debt. $1.3 billion could barely fix one university. There was nothing in this announcement, for as much as Minister Dunlop likes to talk about supporting students, there is nothing in this announcement for OSAP. And finally, we have 23 public universities in our province. We have 24 public colleges. That's 47 public post-secondary institutions. $1.3 billion is around $25 million for each of them. Again, it is simply not enough. And this is entirely in keeping with this government deliberately underfunding and not providing the resources that any of our public institutions require. And so with that, I'm happy to take any questions that you have.
Comfortable telling us whether or not you agree with the federal government's decision to cap international students?
Sure, I'm happy to actually answer the question. So number one, it's unfortunate that the feds had to do that. They are stepping in to clean up Doug Ford and Minister Dunlop's mess. It's regrettable, but unfortunately it was a necessary step. It was a necessary step to protect the universities and to protect the international students as well, who are coming in, being asked to pay too much, and not getting offered the education and the services that they require. So yes, unfortunately, I do support that decision. Sir.
Is it? I want to ask your thoughts on Dunlop's statement that the federal government made this cap on international students without consulting the provinces.
That's not true. The feds have been indicating that this was going to happen for actually quite some time. And so to suggest that they were blindsided by this decision is disingenuous.
Do you support the tuition freeze?
Currently, universities in Ontario get 65% of their funding on the backs of students. That is wrong. The tuition freeze must continue.
What's an appropriate allocation?
I'm not sure, but 65, students are not the piggy bank for universities and colleges. It's got to be better than that. And in addition to the fact that, we do support the tuition freeze, what I think was glaringly absent from today's announcement was any kind of funding or increased support for OSAP.
Do you think the fact that they're putting a moratorium on these public partnership campuses after removing the moratorium the Liberals put in before they were defeated in the 2018 election. Do you think that's an admission by this government that they made a mistake about allowing these campuses to go forward?
They'll never say it out loud, but it looks like an admission to me.
What do you think about, they've got these recommendations from the Blue Ribbon panel, which they ignore. So why would they appoint a panel and then ignore it?
What I'll tell you is that this is entirely on brand for this progressive conservative government. They did the exact same thing with the Housing Affordability Task Force as well. I think they put out these panels, try and stack them with their friends, and then hope that some recommendations come out that align with their expectations. And when they don't, they ignore them.
Where would you suggest the government get, if it's necessary for it to spend more than $1.3 billion on funding post-secondary schools, yet raising tuitions is universally agreed as a bad decision by both you and NDP and the PCs, where would the government get, let's say, an extra $1 billion? Like, if they were to spend $2 billion on the schools, where would it get that money from, if not from students?
Well, the first thing is, we know that this government consistently underspends every quarter, according to the Financial Accountability Office, to the tune of billions of dollars. And then, I think there are many examples of waste in this government spending. For example, we're seeing hundreds of millions of dollars getting paid out to temporary for-profit nursing agencies, when instead the government could just pay healthcare workers appropriately. And so, I would advise them to look at the many examples of them wasting funds, supporting private for-profit entities, for example, and instead invest. And I want to emphasize invest, not spend, invest, because when you invest, there is a return on that investment. I would recommend that they do that instead.
Okay, everybody good?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.